Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
It's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Hey, it's Leif Gaffert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Rory Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Rory, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have actor Graham Halstead, best known as the voice of Shinji Weber in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Locke in Pokémon, Kenji Seki in Psychic School Wars, and for playing Ranger Fitch in Turn Washington Spies. Graham, how are you?
I'm good, Rory. Thanks so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. I hope I pronounced your surname right. It literally just occurred to me that I did ask.
Yeah, no, they're both English/Scottish, I guess, so you took a good stab and hit it right on the mark.
Okay, Halstead, nice. It does sound good like that, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today, sir.
Thank you.
So getting right into my questions for you, Graham, my first question is, just for some background information for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with your background, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Sure. So I started acting at a very young age. One of my first roles was in the school play in first grade. I don't know if you're familiar with the Emperor's New Clothes.
I am vaguely familiar with it, but not hugely.
So just quick recap of that story is there's this emperor. He's very proud and sort of bossy and tells everyone what to do. And these tricksters come to him and tell him that they're going to make him the most beautiful clothes that anyone's ever seen. And so they convince him that they're taking measurements, and the day comes when he's supposed to put on all these clothes and show them off in front of everyone. And so they dress him up, but the clothes are invisible. They've tricked him into agreeing to wear nothing. And so he has to overcome his pride and stand out in front of all of his people with no clothes on. So this is pretty intense subject matter for first grade. But this was my first role as the Emperor. And my mom made me a costume with pink tights and a little grape leaf on the front. And we did the play. I marched right down the middle of the audience in these pink tights, and that's how I got started.
Well, if that's not how someone catches the acting bug, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
It's a really, really great story. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I wasn't actually familiar with that particular part of the story myself, so it's really interesting to learn about. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Yeah, well, not sure you wanted to share the pink tie subject, but...
Well, my mom listening will thank me for mentioning it. She put lots of hard work into costumes over the years.
I'm sure she took particular delight in the pink tights.
Yeah, I think she found that one pretty funny.
Yeah. Now, in terms of your work on Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokémon, two very popular animes, of course, can you tell us how you were originally cast as Shinji in Arc 5 and Locke in Pokémon, respectively?
Yeah, sure. So my casting as Locke came first, and I was actually working for another company in the same building here in New York that records them, and I was recording audiobooks. and the guy who runs the audiobooks department recommended me to the lady and the guy who were working on Pokemon. And so I went downstairs, literally just two, three floors down, and auditioned for them. And then yeah, Locke on Pokemon happened. And then, as I'm sure others have mentioned on the podcast before, the Pokemon, the Yu-Gi-Oh, all the sort of people in that world know each other and sort of recommend you back and forth. And I was very lucky to be recommended for this part, Shinji, in Yu-Gi-Oh, and yeah, was sort of found my way over to the Yu-Gi-Oh team from Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, it's a bit of a smaller community in the kind of anime voiceover world compared to like other animated projects. So like you said, it's a lot of recommendations back and forth, more so between anime shows than in other voiceover areas.
Yeah, it's a very small world, and everybody knows each other, and the sort of community gets together every now and then to get drinks and do karaoke or whatever we do for fun. So yeah, it's a really cool family to feel part of.
Definitely, that's really great. Now, I imagine that you yourself have been a big fan of both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon for a long time. How does it feel to be a part of both shows?
It's awesome. I have been a fan for a long time. I definitely have not kept up with the shows over the years. I've had plenty of other things going on. But when I was a kid, I would come home after school and park myself in front of the TV and watch, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were back to back in the afternoons. So when I got cast on Pokemon, that was like immediate text to like my brother, who I would watch these shows with growing up, to be like, I'm on Pokemon. He was like, awesome. And yeah, same with Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, I've got hundreds of the cards at home. I'm sure somebody would be happy to have them at this point. But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool feeling to sort of be a fan of these shows as a kid and have, no idea be running even when I'm at the age where that's a possibility to be on them. And then to sort of come into my own as an actor and find the shows again and remember how cool they were to me as a kid and to try and make them that cool for people who watch now.
Definitely. It's really great that actors your age, and you're not the only one on like the current Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon shows that were fans of it growing up. It's just great that the franchises are in that age now. Like, I mean, Pokemon celebrated its 20th anniversary last year, Yu-Gi-Oh! This year, 20th anniversary. It's just great that actors like yourself are now able to be on it and have been a fans of the shows when you were younger. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and to get to work with people that the voices that were, the voices that I was hearing coming out of my TV when I was a kid and being like, oh, like that guy's so cool. And not even thinking, one day he'll be directing me or acting opposite me in the studio. Yeah, really cool.
Definitely. Now, Shinji must be a very interesting character to portray because, when you get to do the duels with him, he's making very strong statements about wanting the commons to rally with him. What is it that you like about voicing Shinji, and what do you think about to get in character when you're voicing him?
Yeah, Shinji is an awesome character. He's, he comes up from the commons, so he's got this history, this burning passion, and believes that he's right and that he's fighting, on the side of good. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with American politics, and I honestly don't really want to talk politics or anything, but Bernie Sanders is this great American politician who's sort of known for rallying the common folks of America. And so he was kind of like an inspiration because I was cast around the sort of same time that he was becoming popular. And so it was funny to like go home and watch him and hear almost verbatim some of the same sentences and thoughts and ideas about people standing together and working together and making the world a better place.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting. So basically, when we rewatch Shinji's episodes, it will be like he's a politician, basically. Yeah,
he is a little like a politician. Yeah, but one that's I think a little more easy to listen to.
And a bit more interesting, probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding. Of course, there's some interesting ones out there. But yeah, I mean, as you said, he's definitely a really interesting character. I mean, just, I mean, at the start, like, I mean, we're introduced to him as one of Crow's friends in the Synchro Dimension. Obviously, it's really cool because, like, Shinji wasn't in 5Ds. Like, obviously, this is an alternate Crow with different friends. So it's been really interesting to get to know Shinji through Crow, and then him come into his own character with those duels and with the statements we were talking about.
Yeah, and you see from like even his deck sort of reflects his mindset and his thoughts about the world. All of his sort of bee focused, this community sort of hive mind concept. Yeah, it's a really cool character to embody.
Definitely. Now, in terms of both Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokémon, obviously both shows present their own challenges. What would you consider to be the most challenging part of having worked on both shows?
I think the most challenging thing working on those has got to be, honestly, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is probably the more strenuous, just work-wise. The dual episodes are these huge, epic events, and especially ones where Shinji features in the duel. There's a lot of shouting, a lot of yelling, a lot of needing to like have all of this breath support, and I think it really makes me anyways draw on all of my actor training, my voice training over the years, and sort of remember to really support, because you gotta keep that passion alive and at a 11 out of 10 for the entire episode. And yeah, I mean, I think Pokemon has its own version of that, but I think Yu-Gi-Oh! is definitely a much higher pitch as far as that all goes.
Yeah, definitely. I can completely understand that, especially with Shinji. I mean, obviously, with any character, when they're in a duel, they're shouting, or just a bit more passion being put into the performance, I guess you could say, but also just because Shinji is just shouting so much, wanting the comments to unite and fight, to use his words. Like, there's so much shouting in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which role in your career would you say you found the most challenging so far, and why? It doesn't have to be voiceover, it could be anything else you've done.
The most challenging, I think, just physically speaking, the character that I played on Turn, Washington Spies, Ranger Fitch, it was a really cool character, and the character himself was not. It was fun, he was a Scottish guy, so I got to do a Scottish accent. And the challenging part of it was one of my big scenes, spoiler alert for anyone who has not watched it yet, but my character gets offed in the show. And we shot that scene at like 3 a.m. It was the middle of January, like 15 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and my character is getting just covered in blood, and it was so cold. I had somebody on the crew, the awesome crew, come over with like a blanket in between takes to like warm me up on the ground. But that was really hard, and just I'm remembering to be grateful for the opportunity while you're freezing your butt off out there was definitely a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's obviously the more satisfying part about voice acting. You don't have to worry about the cold.
Yeah. It was definitely an experience that I'll remember forever.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just a really great thing when you put in all of the hard work and it comes out on screen. You can just be really proud of it afterwards, even if, it was really cold to do at the time. Yeah,
and you can... I mean, the moment is quick. It happens in 30 seconds, but hopefully when people watch it, they are in tune with the story and feel for the character and aren't worrying about how cold the poor actors are.
Yeah, somehow I don't think viewers think that way. I mean, I
No.
do. I'm a nice person, but but I'm not sure every viewer is like that, thinking about how actors might be cold.
Yeah, I know that's low on the worried list.
Yeah. Now, my final question for you, Graham: do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so I have an upcoming episode on Pokemon that I'm not sure I can talk about the character name or the story or anything, but check that out when it comes. And then I also do stage acting, and I'm working on a new play called Cry Eden, and it's a musical retelling of the classic Cain and Abel story from the Bible, and I play Cain in our production. So I'm excited about everything that's coming up with that.
That's really cool. I'll definitely be sure to keep an eye out for both of those, and especially your upcoming Pokemon episode. Bit of a tease, bit of a tease, that one.
I know. I'm never sure how much I can actually say about it all, but it's going to be a good one. Trust me.
Yeah, well, that's good enough for me. Now, before I let you go, Graham, we also have a few questions for you from some of our listeners. So first of all, Florence Trask asks, I think Psychic School of Wars was a really visually beautiful movie. What was it like working on that?
Well, thanks for the question, Florence. And Trask, I love that name, by the way, sidebar. It's one of the last names from one of my favorite books, East of Eden. Anyways, Sky Explorers movie, what was it like? That was a great movie to work on. The voice acting is very natural, lots of very emotionally real scenes. I think when I was casting it, and maybe for viewers who've seen the movie, the title sort of suggests some sort of battling going on, and I was doing Yu-Gi-Oh at the same time, so I think I was expecting it to be more like Yu-Gi-Oh and less like a sort of deep character study kind of movie. And once I was able to sort of read the script and understand the sort of beautifully awkward character that I was playing, and I think a lot of people can relate to that coming of age story of being like an awkward teenage kid, boy or girl, and liking somebody else and not knowing what you're doing or how to tell them or what to do about it.
Yeah, definitely. And the next question is from Kelly Bone, who would like to know, what is the most important thing you have learnt from your time working in voiceover so far?
I think the most important thing I've learned is to be truthful from yourself, to speak from your heart, no matter how crazy the character is or the situation is. I mean, some of the things that happen in Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh are kind of out of any of our sort of normal experiences, but the way to sort of relate to them is to imagine yourself in the circumstance of a battle or a duel or talking to a creature, and really think, okay, if I wanted to communicate in this situation, how do I tap into speaking from my heart and going from there.
That's a really great answer. Thank you for that. Our final question comes from Michael Tran, who would like to know, have you played with Yu-Gi-Oh cards before? I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, actually, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I mean, I've got hundreds of them at home, Michael Tran. If you're looking for some old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I definitely have some. Yeah, I mean, my brother and I would play all the time as kids, and yeah, they have a special place in my heart.
Yeah, but let's be honest, what you need is Shinji's deck. Yeah,
yeah, seriously. Can I buy that somewhere? Like the specially made Shinji deck? Or
I'm sure you can. I'd be very surprised if it's not out there somewhere.
yeah, somebody's put it together.
Yeah, definitely. That's all of our questions for you today, Graham. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rory, for having me on.
You're very welcome. Hopefully I can talk to you again at some point.
Yeah, I'd love to, whether it's after the next Pokemon or the next cold night on the snowy ground.
Yeah, well, hopefully that will be a more slightly pleasant cold night, but I doubt it will be somehow.
Yeah, it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll talk to you again soon, and thanks again for joining us. Take care, bye. So time to wrap up today's show. Make sure to check out our podcast links, check out our website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP, check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast, check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast, check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official Everything Geek Podcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/Everything Geek Podcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comic Cast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/separatistdestroyers. Check out Graham Halstead's website, grahamhalstead.com, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
Yeah. So that's funny. I wound up. I actually got the Yu-Gi-Oh gig through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's the same production company, and that was again
huge movie buff, and of course, as a little kid, especially watching Saturday morning cartoons. So it was something I was always drawn to, and it has been so exciting to grow up.